In this module, we will be talking about how do we design and manage products. Of course, hospitality and tourism industry capitalizes on services as well as products. So in this module, we will be talking about products, its types, and how do we design products. The question is, what is a product? We hear this terminology again and again, product, brand, but what is a product? So a product is anything that can be offered in the market against the value that we can capture from the customers. In the book, the definition says that the product is anything that is offered to a market. It can be to get attention, acquisition, use, or consumption for satisfying needs or wants of your customers. It can be tangible, it can be intangible. Tangible products are things that we can touch. Intangible products are things that we can feel, like experiences or information. So products can also be planned and unplanned. Planned products are the products that are planned by the service provider, they deliver to you. Sometimes things can happen and that lead to unplanned products. Sometimes they can create surprise, which means consumers are happier. But sometimes it can even create frustration and anger because nobody knew about it. Now, in hospitality and tourism industry, both the tangible and intangible products are extremely important. Tangible product, of course, if you go to a restaurant, how the food looks like, its temperature, how is the taste, all of that is important because that's an integral part of what you are paying for. But the intangible product, which is the speed of the service or the interaction quality with the staff, also creates a huge impact on how you might expect or satisfy with that service provider. When we talk about products, we also need to think about the levels of products. Products are not simple. There are different layers of product. We call them as core product, facilitating product, supporting products, and augmented products. In the next 2 to 3 slides, we will talk about each of these types of product and some examples. So what is the core product? Core product is for what the customer is paying. That needs to fulfill the need or want of the customer. Let's say in a restaurant, the core product would be the food. In a hotel, it would be the guest room. So that is the core product. But like I said in the previous slide, in hospitality and tourism industry, intangible product is also important. So for a restaurant or a hotel, while in restaurant, food is the core product, in a hotel, guest room is the core product, but the contact employees and the interaction quality is also part of the core product because that's what the customer is paying for. And that also is satisfying a need or a want. But when you go to a hotel, obviously you go to the guest room. What about the shampoo in your toilet? When you go to a restaurant, food and interaction quality is there, but what about the quality of spoons and forks, or your utensils, or the tissue paper or napkin that they provide? What are those things? These are examples of facilitating products. So facilitating products are the products that help us deliver the core product. Means that food, if you go to a restaurant and you are getting food, they cannot give you food in your hands directly. They need to use a plate or something to put the food in there. That is facilitating product. The third level is supporting product. Now, supporting products they're not required to deliver the core product, like forks or spoons or whatever, but supporting products can provide additional value. It can also help us differentiate ourselves from our competitors. For example, in many hotels brands are partnering with some fashion brands or some cosmetic brands to provide branded shampoos or soaps into the toilet. Sometimes Starbucks provide some very nice cups or other things which are examples of supporting products. Remember that as the product grows or matures, sometimes supporting products can convert into facilitating product. For example, internet, which 10 years ago was a supporting product, now is becoming a facilitating product in many hotels and restaurants. The last layer of product is called augmented product. Augmented product is the layer of product that helps us deliver the product to the customer. This includes accessibility, how are the hours of operation, or the location, or the atmosphere of the service environment, like physical environment or servicescape. It also helps us create a differentiating factor. It also includes customers' interaction with other customers because again, in hospitality and tourism industry, it's a collective environment. The next part of this module will focus on new product development. Of course, there's a lot of stages in new product development. For any hospitality and tourism service provider, they have to consistently develop products. You may remember we talked about strategic planning, where we talked about growth strategies. One of the growth strategy was product development. So how do companies create new products? They have to go through new product development cycle. In this one, we start from idea generation all the way to commercialization of product. In the next few slides, we'll talk about different stages in the new product development cycle. So all the new products start from idea generation. Idea generation is the most initial or the first stage where a new product is developed. This includes companies' own idea of what their consumer wants and needs. It also includes market research, where we go to our consumers or the market to see where there's a need to create new products. You may have seen that during COVID-19, when there was a need for people to put the masks, then there was already a lot of criticism saying that in hospitality services, if the employees are wearing masks, the customers cannot see their face. I still remember right at the start, there were some companies where their employees were putting a badge on their shirt saying that even though I'm wearing a mask, I'm smiling behind the mask, which was a very interesting touch. Again, that was a new product coming out of our environment. So at the idea generation stage, we include internal environment, we include external environment. We talk to different stakeholders to understand if there's a need to develop new ideas. From idea generation, we move on to concept development and testing. In this one, we create some sort of a prototype and we go to the market to see if this product is going to fly. That is really where we create the concept of the product, not really the product itself, but the concept. We go to our customers, we do an initial test of whether this product will fly or not. From there, we go to the third step, which is market strategy. Market strategy is where we do an initial market assessment for that product. We look at the target market, we look at which market will we target. We go through the effective market segmentation. We look at the product's distribution channels, where will the suppliers come from. We also look at the projected sales for the product, at least at an initial level. We create a feasibility study, and then we also go with business analysis. And the business analysis simply look at the feasibility study, the projections, and whether they work well with the company's overall objectives. From there, we go to product development. In the product development, we create the prototype. Now we create a bigger prototype, and we usually create it in a limited quantity. Many times I go to Starbucks and I see that they are testing different type of new flavors with their existing customers. Those type of things are done just to see whether this product is going to fly or not. From there, we go into test marketing. We create real life situation where we test the product in real life, but in a limited quantity. Here we try to understand if there are any potential problems, if there are any other issues that may rise when we launch the product on a full or larger scale. From there, we go to commercialization. Commercialization is where we think about when to introduce this new product. Where should we launch this product? To whom should we launch this product? How should we do it? How to create an action plan? All of this would be part of commercialization. From there, we go to the next step. And that next step is then product development. We look at the stages of product development. Usually for product life cycle, we have 4 stages. We start with the product development stage. From there, we go to the introduction phase. From introduction, we go to growth, maturity, and decline. Of course, in the start, when we look at the profitability of product, it's very low because we are developing the product. There's initial cost to it. The more time goes on, the product goes from introduction to growth to maturity and then decline. Now, usually many companies would wait until the maturity, and when really the decline is about to start, they create the new version of the product so that the initial loss of the new product is offset by the maturity of the existing product. So to wrap up this chapter, we talked about the types of products. We talked about the core product, the facilitating product, the supporting product, and augmented product. And then we went very quickly through the product development cycle. So I would urge you to look at the reading materials for this week in order to understand these concepts better. Thank you.